What's going on, Sooner Nation? Oklahoma fans got some great news today that they're going to be getting an official visit from a four-star wide receiver flip target, and the Oklahoma Sooners are still chasing prospects in the 26 class. There are potentially multiple flip targets on the board for Oklahoma. So I want to cover some of those today, along with the official visit that Oklahoma has coming up. So before we dive into it, I want to hear from y'all. Let me know what you think about the recent addition Oklahoma got from Brent Allen in the 26 class. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe button so that you're not missing out on any Oklahoma football content or Oklahoma recruiting content. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit of John Mateer and that thumb injury because Oklahoma fans are doing some interesting things, and there's some interesting things happening on social media that we got to talk about. But the Oklahoma Sooners got the great news from Greg Smith over at Rivals today that Milin Paris, you guys remember him? We talked about him a couple weeks ago when he got the offer from Oklahoma, that he's going to be taking an official visit this weekend for the Kent State game. And I believe this is actually some pretty big news because if he's one of your only, if your only flip target that's going to be on campus this weekend, you can roll out the red carpet treatment for him. Kind of like, remember how we talked about Oklahoma did for Bo Bentley back in his official visit? I think Oklahoma could do something similar here for Milin Paris, and they could potentially put the whole staff on him. And this would be big because he is a 6'5.5" wide receiver out of Stowe, Ohio, currently committed to Iowa State. And by no surprise, Iowa State's really good at finding wide receivers like this. But I did get the chance to talk to a couple of folks that would be pretty in around this recruitment. And it sounds like Oklahoma has a really, really good shot to close this one up this weekend. Although Milin Paris did get the Oregon and Nebraska and Kansas State offer after Oklahoma, it feels like Oklahoma could maybe fend everybody else off this weekend. And notably so, Oklahoma's wide receiver room has really turned a corner this season, which I think has helped them a little bit. I mean, you've seen Daniel Odom stay committed in this class. You got Xavier Okuflueze, who I think has really, really high upside. Maybe not somebody you see right away making contributions, but a guy over the next 3 years that could definitely be playing really good rotational minutes for Oklahoma. And then, of course, Brent Allen, who's another really sizable wide receiver, but with some really good speed. And so Milin Paris comes in, and although he's a really sizable guy, he's actually pretty fast as well. And with 6'9" wingspan, he's going to be able to utilize a lot of that leverage of that frame to be able to go up and catch those balls over SEC corners and safeties, which Oklahoma, I feel like, has kind of been missing a little bit of that size in the past. So really big news that Oklahoma's getting an official visit here this weekend from Milin Paris, because I do think this sets them up really, really well to flip him from Iowa State. But what happens if Oklahoma doesn't hit the home run that we're talking about? Because that's always a possibility. And there's lots of other targets on the board for Oklahoma that we can potentially take a look at here. And the first one is Davian Gross. That's the name I think everybody's going to really care about. The wide receiver / running back that committed to Florida. If you guys remember that, that was a big loss for Oklahoma. He committed to Florida on August 11th. It really felt like Oklahoma in the final hours was going to get that commitment. And the Gators came in and, they flipped that one in on its head. But Billy Napier and the Florida Gators not having a great season. And if they can't turn it around soon, which they have a really good opportunity to this week against Texas in the Swamp, obviously Davian Gross could be back on the market. Another wide receiver, though, that we're closely monitoring and definitely has rekindled that communication with Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is 100% interested in him. We know that. And this is one where if you don't land Milin Paris, this guy's probably going to step up to the table and take that spot. And it's going to be interesting because let's say Milin Paris does want to jump on board. Would Oklahoma want to take another 6'4" wide receiver in Jaden Pettit? Wisconsin, not very good. And there's a really good chance that Luke Fickell could get fired this weekend or next. Wisconsin's really bad offensively. I don't think this is what they wanted. Their identity for a long, long time has been pound and ground, run the ball, definitely not an air raid type style offense. And I definitely think you're starting to see a change in heart in Jaden Pettit's recruitment there. And he's the number 233rd ranked player in the entire country. So this is a top rated player that Oklahoma could try to go out there and flip from Wisconsin. Got a total of 32 total offers. So definitely the one where I think if you're an Oklahoma fan and you were saying, okay, well, if we can't close the deal with Milin Paris this weekend on its official visit, who else would we potentially look at pivoting to? It would be Jaden Pettit. Wisconsin's not good. Luke Fickle potentially going to get fired. Jaden Pettit's a phenomenal athlete. And just like Milin Paris, has a really good frame and is able to attack that leverage, not only at the line of scrimmage with a burst of speed, but being able to use that frame to be able to go catch those balls. Really highly productive wide receiver in high school. But additionally, Oklahoma still has a couple other targets on the board here in 2026. You got Jacob Curry, who decommitted from Northwestern. He is that linebacker that Oklahoma is looking for. The 6'1", 208-pound kid out of Nice High School in Ponte Verde Beach, Florida. You're fighting off, Ohio State and James Laurinaitis, but it really feels like this one's trending in Oklahoma's favor. So this kind of feels like right now a matter of when will he commit, not if he will commit. But of course, anything can change. The longer this drags out, the worse you kind of feel about it. He was just recently, he's going to be at Ohio State this weekend, which I feel like after this weekend, we could potentially find something out unless he still wants to make that Florida State official visit on October 11th. Got a little bit of cough there. Allergies have been killing me. Y'all pray for me. All right. So a couple more targets that I think are a little more interesting. Ones that I don't think have a ton of traction, but ones that I think 100% Oklahoma fans should be paying attention to, just in case something happens down the road. Caden Hall, the 6'3", 195-pound safety that's currently committed to Florida. Again, if Florida and the balls continue to fall off the track there, which I definitely think is a possibility. I think Billy Napier could get fired especially if they don't beat Texas in the swamp this weekend. Caden Hall would be a prospect that you would look for. Also, you'd look at Desmond Green, one of the interior offensive linemen out there at Florida. Oklahoma really liked him, was in on him as well. He's the 773rd player in the entire country, but he had a bunch of offers from a lot of elite SEC schools, including Georgia and South Carolina. So would definitely see Oklahoma picking him up if he was willing to decommit from the Florida Gators and want to jump over to the good guys. Jordan Clay, a wide receiver out at Baylor. This one is starting to look more and more not feasible at this point, especially with Jaden Pettit on the board, Davian Gross back on the board, Milin Paris taking an official visit this weekend. But obviously, if you weren't able to land any of those three prospects, if Dave Aranda got fired or Baylor just looked completely atrocious on offense all season, Jordan Clay would be a prospect that I would 100% circle on my board as a late flip in the cycle. And then Braden Presley, the kid that's committed to Oklahoma State from Bixby High School, safety. Oklahoma probably needs to take another guy there. If not, they're going to have to go hit the portal. Braden Presley was a guy that they were interested in before. The question is he worth the scholarship or would he be on more of a PWO type of thing, what we've seen before? I think that remains to be seen, but that's also somebody that I could see Oklahoma trying to pursue a little bit longer, but definitely later in the cycle. So let me know what you guys think about the big news, the great news, that Milin Paris has an official visit set up with Oklahoma. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next time.